Hey friends, welcome to Right Up Track, your favorite entrepreneurial podcast where we explore the real journeys of entrepreneurs, people pursuing their purpose, a unique path. My name is Anya Smith, and today I'm excited to share my learnings from starting this journey in 2023. As we wrap up the year, I want to share 7 top things that I've learned as a new entrepreneur. First of all, I want to share that you do not have to figure everything out immediately as you start. As I learned, most people who start something amazing didn't have it all figured out. They just had an idea, an issue, some problem that they thought they could help others with, and they started going with it. And they decided, hey, I can do this a little bit better. I can involve more people. They leaned into it instead of trying to figure out the perfect moment to start everything when they have everything laid out in a great game plan. So wherever you're at right now, what is something that's inspiring you inside? What's calling you? Where can you start right now? It doesn't have to mean that you have to give up everything and start anew. But what is one thing you can do today to lay the groundwork for the next step? Maybe it's finding somebody who's done this before. Maybe it's starting a website. Maybe it's finding one resource. Maybe it's starting to talk about a subject you want to get familiar with. Maybe it's finding a book on the topic that you're really passionate about. It doesn't have to be monumental, but every step is going to guide you in that direction. The second thing I found out is just how important it is to find that community that inspires you. When I started, I knew pretty much nobody around me who was an entrepreneur. I didn't have this inspiring connection. I didn't have people who were on a similar journey. People around me, quite frankly, didn't get what I was trying to do. And that's okay because I had a sense of purpose. I had a sense of what I'm going to be doing, even if though I was not an expert. And so what I did is I had LinkedIn, I had social media, I had the internet, and without having any long-term strategy around it really in mind, I decided to reach out to people who were talking about things that were interesting to me, people who were pursuing something similar. And I said, like, hey, I'm starting this path. Can you share with me your insights, how you went about something? What advice do you have? Do you mind hearing about my idea? Would you be interested partaking in this new podcast that I want to create? And one by one, those conversations evolved. Sometimes sometimes it led absolutely nowhere. Sometimes people didn't respond. But every time I did it, I got over the fear of reaching out and not hearing back. Like nothing happened. I didn't die. But people that did reach out, some of them really became friends. Some of them became my biggest allies. Some people just inspired me in that moment, giving me the sense that this is possible, that this is something that others can do. Even if their journey is slightly different, even though it took them some time, I could see that it's possible for others. So why can it not be possible for me? So if you're just starting out and you don't have that framework of people around you who have it all figured out or doing something similar, it's okay. That doesn't mean you shouldn't bother starting. It means this is your opportunity. That means what do you have at your disposal? What is your hint of something you want to do? And who could you talk to now? What would be like 5 people, 3 people, 2 people, 1 person that you can talk about this, right? Who can you reach out to and just ask for help? Kindly, sincerely, being curious and authentic, share that, hey, I am thinking about getting on this journey. I have this vision. I want to do more. And what I've found, and I'm surprised by this, is the entrepreneurial community is some of the kindest community people I have ever met because a lot of entrepreneurs know what it's like to start anew and feel alone on the journey. They know what it's like to look around and not have people who really understand. And they know what it's like to start something completely new where you feel so uncertain, so doubtful, and so vulnerable. And so a lot of them can relate to people starting anew, especially if you do it respectfully, patiently, and authentically. So I encourage you because there's nothing quite like having other people around you who are going through a similar journey or can share their experience to help you along your path. And somebody told me from one of those conversations is that doubt will never really stop being there, but it'll be quieter. It'll become like a friend, an old friend that you know, oh, hey, you're there. I know you're there. I know you're trying to protect me, but I'm okay. I'm going to keep going. And thank you for trying to keep me safe. The third part that I found is that my limits were redefined. Before this, here I was at Meta for 7 years. And yes, on paper, I had everything great. And I'm very grateful for that. Don't take it any other way. But during that time, I had a sense that my limits were around who's around me. You know, what was my manager like? What does it take to be getting that next promotion? What are my financial opportunities within this sphere? And so these limits became formed around me and ingrained in me around what I see immediately around me. And that became a sense like, what can I do in this world became defined on what I can do as what I know around me. And when I left the corporate realm, I realized how artificial those limits were. I realized that our limits are really defined on what we set them to be. And that means that if you go out and you start your own thing, or you just start doing your own thing while you're working, all great, you find that you have a world of possibility out there. There are billions of dollars and resources out there. There are billions of people out there who are looking for support and growth and opportunities. So here you are, you're not fighting for one role, for one promotion, for one incremental salary increase, right? You are here in a world that is full of abundance and opportunity. And the key thing is that you don't have to question like, oh, who am I trying to do something, right? Who am I? Yes, maybe there's all this abundance, Anya, but there are so many people who are already doing this. There are so many people who are already experts in a field that I'm trying to get into. How could I possibly be as good as them? Well, the awesome thing is that you don't have to be. You don't have to be second best at anything because you can be authentically you. The number 4 part relates to this. You find that this entrepreneurial journey is really an inner journey. And you realize that being authentically you is the best strategy, not holding anything back. Because in the world where there are so many options, people A, crave and sense authenticity, and B, you will build an audience that is uniquely drawn to exactly your style of saying something. The way you present something is going to be unique. Even if you're saying the same things, the way you are saying them are going to be uniquely felt by people. And so that's your gift, is being you, not holding back and letting the right people see more of that and be drawn into that. And we need more of that. We don't have an overwhelming abundance of happiness. There are billions of people in the world. There are billions of people who have problems, issues, things that they need support in. And so here you are, even if you're jumping into something where you feel like it's a busy field, there's some people doing something similar. If you have a pure intention of helping others and you are passionate about it and you bring your full self, I promise you there are people who are just so inspired by your path, and you will get more and more of those people drawn to your journey because you are embracing your unique style and not limiting yourself to not even starting or questioning that you have to be more like somebody else. And so your limits become redefined. You see yourself in a new light and you see your potential in a new light. And you realize again that this inner workings is what's going to limit you more than anything. It's not just, how much money you're making or not making. It's what's in here in your head that's really going to stop you before anything else. If you decide like, oh, I can't do this, I'm not good enough to do this. Oh, it's really hard, I'm just going to give up and play it safe. That's what's going to stop you before anything else. And the entrepreneurs who I've interviewed on this podcast have said to me, hey, even if they failed their business, they said, going back is not an option. So the biggest thing on this entrepreneur journey is, what are you putting in your head to be resilient? What are putting in your head to say, like, this is not an option to go back? And you know what that means? It doesn't mean that you can't have an option, like to maybe get a job. It doesn't mean that you can't have other pivoting options, but you have a sense of what you want to do in life, how you can help, that you can do more. And once you ignite that vision, you can never really put it back. You now see a different potential where you can live life on your own terms, where you can contribute to life versus just being told what you can do. And even if other things go differently than you expected, by following this path, amazing things will happen. And again, it will be an inner journey. So you will have to find what makes you resilient, what pulls your energy, where are you strong, where are you not strong. You'll have to have a lot of honest, introspective periods to get through this journey. Number 5 is trusting your own gut. One thing that I realized that was really important is that at the beginning of this journey, not too surprisingly, I was listening to what everybody else had to say. I was like, okay, it has to be done like this. Okay, that sounds very logical. Okay, yes, that makes sense. Okay, you probably know more about this because you've been doing it longer. And so despite my inner sense, like, that doesn't feel right, I went with that. For a couple of months, I was doing things that didn't quite feel right, but I was leaning into, okay, I'm trusting that there was other expertise. And you know what? After a couple of months, I said, this is not working. Not only was it functionally not working, I wasn't seeing much progress, but inside, I knew it wasn't working all along. I could feel it. And so the biggest lesson I want to share with everybody, you have to trust your gut. There's an overwhelming amount of information, including mine, that I want you to listen to, but also discern what actually works for you. What is your gut telling you? And the thing is, you can't listen to your gut if you're exhausted, if you're always just cramming things, if you're so stressed. You can't sense your intuition or quiet down to understand what's working or not if you're constantly burning the oil. So what that means is that in order to follow something that's actually right for you, you need to create space. You need to slow down. Oh my gosh, yes, slow down. I said it. You need to slow down to create space for reflection, to reflect on what's working for you and what's not, and then to listen to your gut when you're doing something, when you are looking at all these ideas on how to grow and what you can do, and all the million things you could be doing right now of your time. Slow down and listen to your gut. What do you actually need to prioritize? What is really the key thing? What is the most valuable thing? A lot of times we want to do, feeling that if we do more, we get more, but that's not how it works. A lot of times we're doing more and getting less out of it. And that's true. It takes reflection to say, what is the most important thing that I'm creating? And what can I be doing less of? It also takes that trust to say, hey, I need to also have boundaries with myself. I need to have boundaries that say, hey, I can't just keep giving or doing more, because I need to also replenish myself. And so we talk about always doing more on this journey, but really the inner work and the trusting of yourself leads you to understand that you also need to have boundaries for yourself and say, hey, I need to restore myself so I can be better down this journey. And if you think that boundaries are like, oh, when somebody offends you, like, oh, I have boundaries. But do you really have boundaries? What are your boundaries? What are your boundaries around work? When is enough work enough? When is it time for you to replenish that's outside of vacation or the weekend? Boundaries are just as important for you to be successful, and they oftentimes require you to do less than to do more. And so I challenge you to trust in yourself, to reflect on what's serving you and what do you need to create to serve yourself better. And then the next thing that happens is that as you go through this inner journey of doing something in the world, you find something that resembles your purpose, this exciting place where you feel like, hey, you know what? This feels good to do to help others. This resonates with others. I feel inspired by this. This is something I do feel good about putting that work in. It doesn't quite feel like work because it brings me to life. It has impact. I want to grow and be better in this space and help others. And that's the beautiful thing for me, is that the sixth important part is that as you get into this journey, you realize that it's not about you. But the way to actually get better is to ask the question, how can I make my work more helpful for others? And that question actually makes me feel vulnerable because I a long time think, well, I have to think about myself. How do I get more viewers, more followers, be better myself? Ugh, what if I actually lean in to help others? That will make me so vulnerable. I'm going to give all this energy and not get anything back, but that's not true. By really leaning in to helping others authentically, we create this reciprocity of energy. When we really want to help others, that actually serves us to be more in every capacity. That actually makes us more successful because if we truly focus on being helpful to others, we will create better work. We will take the time to understand other people with an open heart and open mind. That means that what we create will actually resonate with people more impactfully. And so when you focus on helping others and you follow the steps of setting healthy boundaries and having the space for introspection, you will have that space to also care for yourself and give back. So this journey becomes really interesting where you are feeling yourself. You are going on this journey, which some say are so risky. Some say, oh, it's so risky to go on this journey. But is it riskier to never live? Isn't it riskier to never even try? To live with so much regret in this place that feels so stagnant and full of inner fear that we just never brush off? I think it's a lot less risky to actually go for it and actually live the life we have. And the final thing I want to share is that it is so worth it. These last few months of being laid off, starting this podcast, have really changed my life. I have met incredible people who inspire me, and I talk to people around the world every day. People who I would have never met are now part of my daily life. I talk to entrepreneurs, people who have grown social followings of millions, people who are changing the world, who are passionate about doing good. That's part of my life every day now. I have nominated my podcast for awards. I have now had speaking opportunities for 2024 that I'm so excited about. And it wasn't because I'm the best person, it's because I dared to go for it. I'm not prepared for every step of this journey. I'm leaning into it and going for it and stretching myself and trusting that this is what I need to do. Because honestly, if you go to be an entrepreneur, you're going to learn so much about yourself. And with that knowledge, if the new connections you've gained, it's only going to enrich your life no matter what you decide to do from that point on. And so if you're listening to this, I'm so grateful for you being part of this right off track journey. And I just implore you to go for it, to take that step, to be brave, to not have regrets in your life. You are absolutely worthy. We say, who am I to live this big life, to go for it? And I tell you, who are you not to do that? We have this life that has so many challenges. We need more people to be brave, to live their full authentic life, because in doing so, not only are you empowering yourself, you're also empowering others. You're setting that example of what's possible. And so I implore you, as we wrap up this year, to just go for it. There's so much to gain. And if you need more support, please join Right Off Track. Please subscribe. Please share your suggestions on how we can make this work better. And what's also exciting is that I'm actually going to be working with my friend Earl Talbot on a course for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs who want to ignite that path for themselves, who want some strategies. And we're also going to be doing some awesome YouTube videos this year that are going to be diving into courses and different expert talks around certain areas that can help you grow. So beyond just seeing this resource of the podcast where you dive into the individual and see their journey and their learnings along this entrepreneurial route, you will get additional resources if you follow Right Off Track. So I'm so excited. I'm so grateful for you being on here. I'm so excited to see where you go. I 100% believe in you, that you can do more than what you think is possible right now. And as always, I like to conclude by saying, let's take over the world together, Right Off Track. See you next year.